Yes, good morning, friends. Today we are going to see the most debatable topic, that is environment versus development. So please pay attention. Please attend to this video or class very attentively. So the question is here: most of the policy makers or scholars say there is a dilemma. There is a contradiction between environment and development. Right? There is a contradiction or conflict. Right? If you want development, means you need to cut off some trees, some wildlife has to be sacrificed. So now today we are questioning it. We are questioning it, doubting it, because is there a dilemma between environment and development inherently? I repeat the question, please listen. Is there inherently a dilemma between environment and development, or are we creating the dilemma? Are we as human beings creating the dilemma between environment and development? You got the point, right? Are we creating the dilemma between environment and development, or is there inherent dilemma between environment and development? Right? That is the question we are going to see today. So let us begin the class without delay. So do subscribe and share the video so that I can bring more and more such type of videos. Right? So please listen, sir. In the next month we have G20 summit, September 9 to 10. Similarly, we have United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC COP28 summit in Dubai, UAE. So it is time to understand what is development, right? What is development? So please listen. If you go and ask this question to a government, a central government, a state government, what is development? What could be their answer? What could be the reply? So please listen. For their point of view, from government point of view, poverty eradication or building huge dams or bullet trains, right, or big metropolitan cities, right, so some employment generation through welfare schemes, or already mentioned eliminating poverty, these are all part of development, right? This is the definition. These are all the components of definition from government's point of view. In other words, improving the quality of life of everyone, particularly the vulnerable sections like SC, ST, or street vendors, or domestic servants, or the people who are engaged in unorganized sector, right? If you improve the quality of life of everyone, then it is development from government point of view, right? Having said that, please listen, having said that, today we are all witnessing unseasonal rainfall. Right, this month is an August month, which is a monsoon, but now we hardly have any rainfall, right? So August is almost a drought in India, right? So it means agricultural production gets impacted, right, because of unseasonal rainfalls or uneven distribution of rainfall. On one area like Assam we have floods, and other areas like Rayalaseema we have drought, right? This is a part of climate change. Right? What is climate change? What is climate change? If somebody asks you a question, climate change is a long-term shifts. Please listen. Long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. Long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. It may be natural also. But because of human-induced changes, because of burning of fossil fuel or greenhouse gas emissions, we are rapidly changing the nature of climate. You got the point, right? Climate changes, or for example, sir, the cyclones, the frequency of cyclones has increased drastically today. Forest fires, heat waves, in other words, extreme weather events. Today we are all witnessing extreme weather events because of man-made activities, human-induced activities for our greed. There is an air pollution, water pollution, land degradation, right? Because these are all happening because of human-induced activities. Right, human-induced activities. So against this backdrop, we are questioning this development. You got the point, right? We are questioning this development. In other words, is this a development at all? Right? Is this development at all, or is there a different approach, a different dimension altogether to understand development holistically? You got the point, right? To understand development holistically, is there a different approach or dimension? That is our exploration today, our inquiry today. We are going to do together to understand development completely, right? So that is the reason, is this development at all, right? We are questioning it, the current definition of development given by government or any other stakeholder, so that we explore together to understand the nuances, the complexities of development, right? So let us understand first issues with development. What are the current issues with the development before we understand the holistic nature of development? Before we understand the holistic nature of development, we need to see what are the problems right now we are facing to understand development, right? The first problem or issue or challenge is, please listen, we all know that we use GDP, gross domestic product, to measure development, right? And we all know that most of the countries use GDP to compare themselves, or whether the growth is happening or not, or whether the standards of living of the people, right? Whether the standards of living of the people are improving or not, they use GDP. GDP of India, GDP of Pakistan, GDP of Singapore, right? They look at GDP, gross domestic product, or per capita income, or national income, right? So we are questioning it. We are questioning whether GDP is sufficient to understand development, right? Whether GDP is sufficient to understand development, or do we need more? Do we need more such any concepts are there? So please listen, GDP is a quantitative parameter. It is a quantitative parameter. It's only quantitative. In other words, please listen. In other words, there are other human-centric parameters like quality education, affordable health care, clean drinking water, access to electricity, clean cooking gas, bank account, right, and so on. These parameters are not captured by GDP. Got the point? They are not captured by GDP. That is the reason we need a qualitative understanding, not quantitative, right? We may need quantitative, but it is not sufficient. GDP is needed, but it is not sufficient to understand development completely, right? That is the reason we have some other indices like Human Development Index, similarly Multi-poverty Index. Recently, Niti Aayog said almost some 13.5 crore people came out of poverty in India in the last 10 years, right? So we'll go through it, multi-poverty report released by Niti Aayog. The point is here, please listen, the point is here, if we understand the needs of vulnerable people like SC, STs, domestic workers or construction workers, right, or gig workers, right, if government is addressing their needs, then the development is inclusive. Got the point, right? Then the development is inclusive. The inclusive nature of development happens only when the growth benefits go to everyone, right? So that is one aspect of development. That is one aspect of development. One current issue with the development, we need to make the development more qualitative, more inclusive, right? Not just quantitative, right? So GDP is not sufficient. That is one issue. Other issue is, please listen, in ancient history, if you look at ancient history, we have, in Rig Veda particularly, we used to worship nature. Indra, Agni, Varuna, right? We used to worship nature. But today, we hardly do it. You may disagree with me, but you can see there is an image worship, idol worship, more or less, right? The reason why I am saying this is, there is a resource exploitation today. Ruthless exploitation, right? Just, you can see, in ecologically sensitive areas like Joshimath, in Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, these are all ecologically sensitive areas, right? Joshimath landslide, you will be knowing this, sinking of land in Joshimath. Why this is happening, right? We are building huge dams or rapid construction of roads, Chardham project, to promote tourism. Getting the point, to promote tourism in the name of development, we are constructing huge infrastructure in ecologically sensitive areas. What the point, right? That is the reason I have told you we have lost touch with nature. We are not understanding nature, right? Particularly the carrying capacity of Mother Nature. What is carrying capacity? Please listen. We need to understand this carrying capacity. Suppose a person has a capacity of working 6 to 8 hours per day, right? That person can work only 6 to 8 hours. If you say that you need to work for 15 hours or 20 hours per day, if you impose it, then what they will do? They will go some stress. It is a stress, right? Mental stress, emotional stress. That is the reason students are committing suicides. Unable to bear the torture of academics, they are committing suicides, student suicides. In the same way also, please listen, in the same way also, river, take an example of river. River has a self-cleaning mechanism, right? If you pollute the river, it has a self-cleaning mechanism to absorb the pollution up to a particular level. or threshold, it has that capacity to absorb the pollution, right? That is a self-cleaning mechanism or carrying capacity, right? But today we are not understanding the carrying capacity in a scientific way, so we are destroying the carrying capacity of Mother Nature, right? Because of which today we are witnessing disasters like earthquakes, floods, or biological disasters like pandemic, corona, COVID-19, right? The point is, once again, we are losing, or we have no relationship with nature, right? Trees, birds, mountains, valleys, sunrise, sunset, so on, right? So the point is, in the name of development, please listen, in the name of development, we are destroying, nature. We are destroying nature, trees, birds, not only destroying nature, but also the rights of future generations. How? Please listen, the future generations also have an equal right on the present resources. It can be coal, it can be iron, it can be air, it can be water, but for our greed, please listen, for our greed, we are exploiting them. Mahatma Gandhi said that nature has enough resources for our need, but not for our greed, right? But today we are rapidly depleting the natural resources, right? We are using it for our own greed, right? Without understanding the needs of future generations, right? We have no caring for the future generations. That is the reason the rights of future generations are compromised today in the name of development, right? So the point is here, we are threatening the survival of humanity itself. We are threatening the survival of humanity itself. That is the reason we are destroying ourselves, we are destroying the nature, right? So what we need to do, what is the way forward, right? So what is the way forward? So let us see the way forward, right? So let us see the way forward. So please listen. We all know that we have gram panchayats. Gram panchayats are local bodies, but unfortunately they are not empowered. They are not empowered functionally or financially. Even though we have 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts, but gram panchayats or local governance is very weak. If you look at China or authoritarian countries like other countries like Saudi, there the local governments are much more powerful than India, right? Unfortunately, the point is here, if the local peoples are participated, right, they have a traditional wisdom, of how to use the resources optimally. Optimum use of resources, judicious use of resources only happen when you include local people, right? But that is not happening. This is participatory democracy, right? So participatory democracy happens when you include local people, but that is not happening because the administrators or policymakers think that they know everything, and these community people or illiterates, they are ignorant, they don't know everything. You got the point that they do not know anything, we know everything, right? Such type of attitude, arrogant attitude of some administrators, leading to exclusion of local people in the process of development. That is one issue. So please listen, we have a concept called as a sacred groves. You know, see the movie of Kantara movie, how they believe their deity, their god resides in forest, right? So they do not cut off forests. They have a relationship with nature, with animals, panjurli, right? So it means in sacred groves or Chipko movement of Uttarakhand, they hugged the trees, right? The point is here, in sacred groves, the tribals have a harmonious relationship with nature. But today we do not have that relationship. Why? Right? We are questioning it. We are looking at ourselves. Why we do not have a relationship with nature, right? Similarly,